Shalom Akim, Yahweh, Bashim, Yahushai, Bashim, Kakadash, Barakatam, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of great Mr. Well, to the Akim, Aqua, the falcons of the earth, which on the Lord, Hamashiach, Yahushai, in these days and times. Shalom, yeah, you gotta wait patiently. Alright, that situation between Russia and Ukraine, you just have to hold your horses, alright? And all these news reports and breaking news this and breaking news that, you just gotta take it with a grain of salt, alright? So, hey, eventually, they have to go to war, man, alright? The West will have to go to war against Russia. NATO will have to go to war against Russia. Alright, the scripture talks about that. Alright? So it's just one of those things you have to look forward to. I already know that World War One and World War II were not started by Russia. Alright? It was started by the West. That's a fact right there. So it doesn't matter how much they try to beat the drums of war. It's always the West. It's always the West. That's how the Lord has set it up. The dragon got to the dragon got to push. He's got to make that push. All right. He's got to make that push, and that's the reason why there's going to be a lot of chaos upon the whole world. All right. So there's a quick precept I'll need to bring out. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, verse 20. It tells you this. Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakadash, that he had taken against Edom. Alright, so Edom is a so-called white man, alright, the Caucasian nation, alright? And his purposes that he had purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Alright, so NATO is basically the kingdom of Edom, and Teman is simply Germany. Alright, that's where the smartest of the Edomites are. Alright, the whole technology of satellites and communication and the rockets and all that stuff, there's always the German minds behind that stuff. Even all these biotech and all that stuff, Germany is basically the center, of science when it comes to knowledge among Esau. All right. Surely the list of the flock shall draw them out. All right, and the list of the flock is these so-called Jewish folks, man. These Amalekites that are in positions of power, that are pulling the strings. These different members of NATO, all right, whether it's in France, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in Germany, whether it's in the Netherlands, whether it's in America or Canada, they're all pulling the strings to go to war with Russia. And you got Amalek in control of Russia too, so they have to make it happen. And what's their goal for World War III? Their goal is to, to cause some chaos so they could get the birthright back. Because in war, it's not really about who wins or who loses. It's about who's left behind. So when you have all that mass casualties of people dying of radiation, and then there's starvation, there's famine, there's pestilences. That's a method of eliminating the population of people upon the face of the earth. And that's the reason why they want World War III so bad, man, because they had World War I and World War II to practice. All right? So World War III will be the end all be all for them. But the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai will have to throw a monkey wrench in their plans. All right? So that's the secret behind the world wars, man. to build up a system, a dragnet, so they could have another war. It's like a setup for another setup. All right. But the Lord Amashak Yahushua is going to interfere with that. All right. So another precept that you need to look into will be from the book of Jeremiah chapter 51. Let me see. 51 and 11. All right. Because Russia represents the Medes. All right. So Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 11 says this: Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh had raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon. All right. And that's going to be the conflict between Russia and America. America represents Babylon. The virgin daughter of Babylon, that's America, all right? For his device is against Babylon to destroy it, all right? That's the Lord's plan, all right, to use the Medes to destroy America, all right? And when you hear that concept of mad, mutually assured destruction, there's a plan of the Lord for Esau to tear himself apart, all right? Because it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. So it's going to be rough upon the face of the earth, for those that are not covered by the blood of Mashiach Yahushua. It's going to be chaotic, all right? So World War III is destined to happen, and it's always the West. It's always got to be the West. That's how the Lord has set it up, all right? The dragon has to go against the bear, all right? So Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17 says this: Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. All right? So it's going to be rough, man. When that Russian invasion takes place, oh my God, you gotta pray the Lord covers you, And then verse 18 says, their bows, all right, their missiles, their bows, all right, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children, all right? Their eye shall not spare children. So that's bad. That's a rough judgment, man. In war, you just blast away, blast away till there's nothing left of the enemy. So that's the indignation of the Lord that's gonna bring upon the face of the earth, all right? And then Ezekiel chapter 38 also touches on that point. What the Medes are going to do. Lord have mercy. Looking at missiles in the sky is not a joke, man. Looking at warheads hitting their target is not a joke. You've seen footage of nuclear bombs being tested in the Pacific and all that stuff. It's not a joke. It's not something to laugh about and just pretend as if it never happened. This is the real deal. This is the indignation of the Lord. So the Lord already gave us a sneak peek of what's coming, in the near future. All right. So Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 10 says this: Thus said the Lord Yahweh, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. So the Lord's going to embolden the minds of these so-called Russian troops, man. These Russian generals and their whole, the whole military industrial complex over there. The Lord is going to push it hard in their mind that they got to go against Babylon, man. All right. So this is what it says in verse 11. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. So they're going to steer their military towards America. And Russia is just next door to America. All right. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. Yes, ever since, the British set foot on the American soil, no other military has set foot on American soil, for war, for battle. All right. So this is going to be a real deal, man. So, look forward to this, man. The land of unwalled villages, that's America. All right. And you already see that, man. You already see that with what they're doing to these so-called troops over here, man. They're basically forcing them to get that jab, and then they dismiss them. They don't want to go along with the program. So in any words, it's basically a lose-lose situation for the American military, man. So America's being gutted from within, and that's the plan of Amalek. Making America a sacrificial lamb to the chaos. And the scripture says what? That the whore shall be hated by the beast. All right. So NATO is going to turn against America. Some key members of NATO, they're going to turn against America, and they're going to fire some missiles against her. All right. So just to get one more precept will be from the book of Revelation chapter 13. It tells you certain things that are part of history. All right. So it says this in verse 1, Revelation 13 verse 1, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. All right. And that beast is NATO. All right. The EU and NATO, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. All right. So they basically are against the Lord. That's the whole agenda behind their wars, man, to come against the saints. All right. That's exactly what they're trying to do with these world wars, to create an environment to entrap our people and to exterminate us. But the Lord Hamashiach Yahushua is not going to let it happen. They're going to have to try one last bite, but it's not going to it's not going to latch on. All right. So this is the end of the serpent. All right, from that book of Genesis. It's about time the Lord take it out of power. All right, kick it out of the power seat. So verse 2 says this, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. All right, that represents the Greeks, and his feet as the feet of a bear, representing the Russians, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, that represents the United Kingdom, Great Britain. All right, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. All right. So the Roman Empire, man, had to make that great stand. All right. The Roman Empire had to have its great influence, has great influence upon the Greeks, upon the UK. All right. Even in Russia, you feel that influence. All right. So it says this in verse 3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. So during the Renaissance, once the Dark Ages was coming to a close, that's when these so-called European nations, these so-called white European, Caucasian European nations begin to come back into power. All right, starting with let's see, after the bubonic the plague of Black Death, the bubonic plague, you know. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind when it comes to prophecy, man. All this chaos that the Lord has set upon the earth, it has to take place, and it's going to be rough. All right, it's going to be rough, and the scripture tells you that clearly, man. That the earth is going to reel. The earth is going to reel to and fro like a drunkard. All right, let's see, pull that up. So Isaiah chapter 24 verse 20, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. So that's as a result of the missiles being launched, and they're hitting the targets on different parts of the earth, all right? Mainly America, some parts of the Middle East, Iran, the so-called land of Israel, some parts of Europe, Russia, China, all right? And shall be removed like a cartage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. All right, so the rulership of Esau is basically coming to an end. All right, so the Lord is going to allow these so-called nuclear missiles to be launched, and it's going to cause a lot of people to lose their lives, and our salvation is at hand. All right, our salvation is at hand, and the Lord is going to deliver us. All right, so verse 21 says this, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord Yahweh shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. All right, so they're gonna be jacked up, man. All right, and then it says in verse 22, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. Yep. So there is no debate about that, man. The Lord is about to make it happen, very soon. Just praying that we're covered, all right? So that's about it, Hakim. You shouldn't be looking forward to Russia making that big move to start World War III. It's got to be the West to start it, all right? So that's the point there, Hakim. Abaratazat, Lord Hamashak Yahushai, Bashim Kadash. Have mercy on us, and hey, stay faithful, stay circumspect. Shalom.